Boom shakalaka. What is going on, everybody? Randall here from Crypto Love. Today, I am joined by Alex Mashinsky of Celsius Network. What's going on, Alex?
Good to be with you again, and you've been traveling the world, so I want to hear all the details.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just got back from Thailand. We'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do, I just want to tell everybody a little bit about you because sometimes I ask you, but I've we've spoken enough times that I feel like I can give you a pretty good introduction. So here we go. Pressure's on. Alex Mashinsky. He was Israeli Israeli intelligence, and then created voice over IP, and then put Wi-Fi in the New York City subways, and then created Celsius Network, one of the best lending networks out there with over $600 million in assets under management. And I'm sure he's up to some other stuff. They do an okay job?
Very good, very good, yes. And I have 6 kids at home and a beautiful wife who kicks me and makes sure that I go to work and do something every day. I don't just rest on my laurels. So yes, all of that, juggling all of that at the same time.
Yeah, well, you do a good job of juggling it. So
yeah.
Today, I want to talk a bit about Celsius because I've been actually using that a lot. I'm actually thinking about taking out my first loan. I've been just using it to get the interest, which is fun because every Monday I get an interest payment. But probably going to take out my first loan on there, see what that's like. But before we get into that stuff, there's a lot going on in the world. So we have, the whole coronavirus thing, economic collapse. I mean, I could tell you from being in Thailand, I was out there up until about a week ago, and in Thailand, people aren't that worried about it because apparently it doesn't affect hot nations as much. They didn't see as many cases down there. But I know people in China, they were quarantined. I had some friends there. I flew back through Japan, and people had the normal precautions. It didn't seem as outrageous as it seems now that I'm back in the States where everything is shut down. But I mean, what are your take on coronavirus economic collapse? I'd love to know.
Well, so look, the economy, we've been basically milking everything out of this economic cycle since 2008. I mean, the Fed kicked the can down the road, and now all the monetary central banks, of Japan, of Europe, and the US got together and they're kicking the whole planet down the road, because they're going to print trillions of dollars to basically reflate the economies, hoping to reflate the economies. The Fed already committed to several trillions. We're waiting for the US government to say it's going to be 2 trillion or 3 trillion or more than that. And I remember when we were, wow, look, they're talking about 100 billion, and we got excited. Now it's trillion. Most people watching us don't even know how many zeros a trillion have. It's like we could just say gazillion, bazillion, and it would mean exactly the same thing. So the point is that all this money is effectively fake. Ray Dalio said best, cash is trash. So I think the promise of cryptocurrencies, the promise of a non-correlated asset is greater today than it's ever been. Now, yes, it is going down with the sell-off that's going on in the markets, but that has to do with who is in our community. We have too many speculators, too many traders in our community, and when they sell their stocks or gold, they also sell their Bitcoin. So I think we flushed through that. I saw BitMEX liquidated like over 90% of their longs. And so they basically flushed through all their customers. Some of our competitors had to liquidate most of their borrowers. We didn't do that. So I think whoever survives this and keeps going, like in any cycle in the crypto world, is going to do well. On the Corona side, I take it very seriously. I've been saying to people that this virus did not exist for the last 4.5 billion years of this planet has existed. So anyone who tells you what's going to happen and how it's going to happen, and don't worry, and we've seen it all, we haven't seen nothing. This is something completely different, and this virus hasn't started mutating yet. Just to put things in perspective, look, the AIDS virus has been around for 30 years, and we're still trying to figure out how to stop it, right? So the coronavirus is its own family. It's not influenza. It's not all the stuff we used to, and this is a strain that we've never seen before. So I think people would be advised to just socially distance themselves, care for themselves and their family, and take this very, very seriously. Don't go and drink in bars and share drinks or whatever. Okay, you're gonna get sick. And just a baby just died here in New York. Okay, a 1-year-old baby. So anyone who told you that young children don't die from it, unfortunately, that all of that is not true. So let's all hope that we survive this and we're all going to get infected one way or another because it's circulating in society. So it's just a question of when will we have the respirators, will we have the medicine, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good. Now, I, on the other hand, am a bit more optimistic towards things. I know it's going to affect people, but I think, you know, it's leveled off in China, and I think eventually we're going to get to that point where it's going to level off in the rest of the world. But one thing you talked about was the Bitcoin drop and a lot of speculators selling off. Now, I know when I've had you on before, we've talked about how you think there are multiple stages of people entering into Bitcoin. So first it was it the libertarians first, or no, first it was the
anarchists. Yeah, it's like a 4-man relay race, right? The anarchists took the a baton from Satoshi, and they try to blow up the world with it, right? All kind of illegal schemes and this and that. They couldn't get enough members, then they handed it off to the libertarians. They tried to save the world with the same baton. They handed it off to the speculators, and the speculators thought they're gonna hand it off for $20,000 to the institutions, and instead the institutions shorted the heck out of the Bitcoin, right? So we went through the cycles. Right now, we're going through another flush where we're getting rid of all the people that don't believe in the asset, right? It's all the people who are, I call them the crypto tourists, and they all basically leaving crypto land and going back to fiat land, you know? So all these guys, it's a one-way trip. They're not coming back. And unless we grow the community, we talked about this, right? If we don't grow the community, we don't bring new members, we're not going to see new highs on the coin. So, but this downturn is the opportunity for Bitcoin. It's the opportunity for Ethereum because everybody's rethinking, okay, well, what am I going to use? How am I going to make payments if the banks are closed? And so on. How do I transfer money? And suddenly the use case for Bitcoin and for Ethereum is much greater, much more clear than it was just 6 months ago, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not to mention, I mean, I know you've spoken previously about how Celsius is trying to get it to the next 100 million people into cryptocurrencies, but I was just looking today. I mean, with Bitcoin, the interest rates, if you receive sell on that, is over 7%, which is like enormous compared with what you get in a bank, and it's almost 10% on most of the stable coins.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure even Warren Buffett would love.
Yeah, it should be attractive enough. Just those numbers, right? But still, for most people, it's difficult to trust you or understand how it works. They still don't understand, okay, where are you making the money? Where do the interest come from? But we've been doing it for 2 years. So we've made over 100 weekly payments to our community. Now we have over 80,000 users from all over the world, but 40% are Americans. But, you know, like, how long do you have to wait until you say, okay, fine, these guys are legit? We also have a big announcement. We issued the press release today that we're profitable. We made money in 2019. We made money this year. Our revenues are over $1.5 million a month. We're going to do over 2 million in March because it's going so well. And we're profitable, right? So there's nothing better than a profitable business that also gives 80% of its revenues to its community. I mean, we killed it, right? We like we said, we're going to do well only after we do good. And we did a lot of good for a lot of people. We get great reviews I want to thank everybody who's watching this, who's using Celsius, for supporting us during a lot of hard times. We were there during the nuclear winter. Bitcoin went down to 3,500. Again, now I don't see any withdrawals. We're only seeing deposits. So it's an amazing experience of having so much trust and so much support from people who basically, we've delivered for them, so they're delivering for us.
Yeah, I think it's a little hurdle for a lot of people in cryptocurrency because, at least for me, it was the your keys, your money type of thing. Where before I started using Celsius, I was like, I really want to hold my keys that way. I know I have it. But then I kind of took that leap of faith where I was like, it's backed by BitCo, which is backed by Lloyd's, and so just taking that little leap of faith and then eventually just seeing the interest payments every Monday, it's kind of like, hey, this is pretty cool. Now, I mean, I didn't put everything that I had into Celsius, but I put it enough into there where I can see it kind of moving and progressing, and it's fun.
Yeah, and look, there are a lot of people who say that not my keys, not my Bitcoin. That's fine. The problem is that the next 100 million people, most of them are not comfortable holding their own keys. They don't even know what keys are. They're like, keys? What do you mean, keys? I have keys in my pocket. So we can't grow the community if everybody has to be an expert on the blockchain and an expert at security and all that stuff. So just like, again, back in the days of voice over IP, where you had to put an address, a TCP/IP address to reach out somebody, and you had to do a test call with them and whatever. That's where we are today, and Bitcoin is 11 years old. I think it's time for us to move to the next step, where just like we're having a conversation, that you can just click on your image or your name and we're connecting. If I want to transact with you, I can just click on your image and send you money or receive money or anything like that. And we're years away from that, right? I mean, it's very, very complex. It's cumbersome. It's not as easy to use as it should be. So we need to simplify it. We need to eliminate all these technologically complex requirements. And that's how we're going to bring 1 billion people, not just 100 million people. And that's what makes Bitcoin price go up. If 1 billion people used it or held it in their wallets, the price would be $1 million instead of $4,000 or whatever it is, $5,000 right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So since we're talking about using the wallet and lending and everything, like I said, I've been using it just to get the interest. I'm thinking about taking out a loan doing it. Now with the loan on that, suppose, like, for instance, people who may have had a loan out and then Bitcoin just had its first halving of the year where it dropped 50%. I mean, what kind of protections are there against them losing what they have in there?
So we just went through that, right? I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of people who got margin calls, and we don't, unlike other services, we don't force liquidate. So I know there's other, especially smart contracts. So the DeFi community just saw massive liquidations. BitMEX liquidated 90% of their loan customers. We don't do anything like that. You get a notice. We give you time to basically cure your position, and you can do one of three things. You can basically say, here's some of the money back, here's the dollars back, put the coins back in my wallet, and they're fine. The second option is you can send us more coins, right? So you can basically increase your collateral to cure the margin call, or you can tell us, go and sell some of the coins to make sure that I'm no longer in a margin call. And you make that choice. So since we lend you dollars from the rest of our community, we have to make good on the loan. We can't just say, oh, no worries, margin call, you don't have to do anything. We can't do that. But we give you the grace period to make your own decision. We don't liquidate you without your knowledge or without your permission or without talking to you first. And that makes a huge difference, because then you can make the financial choice. Some people rather pay back a portion of the loans, and other people, like we had a few people who actually use their credit card, because now you can buy Bitcoin with a credit card on the Celsius app, and they immediately just use the credit card to buy a little bit of coins to cover the margin call. So we enabled all these different solutions to make sure that people are not liquidated. Go online, find a bad review about Celsius. I can definitely find a lot of better reviews about BlockFi and Nexo and BitMEX and all these guys, right? On BitMEX, it's mostly in Chinese, but you can still find it. So my point is just that, again, our focus is on doing everything in the best interest of our users, our depositors. We want these people to be customers for life. And if we liquidated you, there's zero chance you're going to come back and use us. So for us, that experience and that trust is the most important thing.
Awesome. And I think people like that, how transparent you are, how you tell everybody how much you're making and what you're doing with the money. So I think a lot of people like that. Now, on the other side of that, let's say, right now Bitcoin's at, we'll just say $5,000. You take out a loan and then Bitcoin goes up to $10,000 or $20,000. Can you then refinance that loan and just, because when you have a loan out, you don't get interest on the crypto or collateral, but can
Yes.
you then refinance and do it?
Yes, yes. So look, we're not trying to steal money from you. These are your coins. So whatever is not used for the loan amount, so let's just use regular numbers. Like let's say you had $5,000 worth of Bitcoin and you took a $2,000 loan, right? Most of those Bitcoin are being used to cover the loan. But if the Bitcoin price went up to 10,000, whatever is more than 5,000, you're actually going to earn interest in that. So we're not like a bank where unless you moved it to the savings account between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., you're not going to earn interest. Like we're not trying to catch you. The opposite. We pay you interest, as much interest as we can. We actually raised the rates several times. So we paid more to the communities. So the rates in Celsius, unlike the Fed, our published rates are going up. They're not going down to zero. Mm-hmm. So we are acting in the best interest of the community. We're doing exactly what we promised in our white paper. If you read our white paper from 2017, we've delivered on everything we promised. And frankly, we are years ahead of our plan to be profitable. And that's because the community, so many people in the community trusted us, gave us their assets. And I'm very happy that we have competition because we set the bar so high at 80%, giving back 80%. Anyone who wants to compete with us has to give even more. So now we're basically saying, hey, Coinbase gives you 0. You want to start competing with us? Good. Start at 90%. Same thing with some of the other services. So I think we don't believe that creating more and more toll collectors or more and more centralized exchanges is the future of crypto. The future of crypto are companies that are like Celsius. They're the opposite of Wall Street. They're the opposite of your banks or your financial institutions. And every person, every one of your viewers has to decide, do I use my credit card? Do I use my bank account every day? Because with that, I'm empowering centralization. I'm empowering the same practices that we've seen again and again of how these banks are just ripping us off. Or do I want to support the projects who are actually here to help me and act in my best interest? And if we all withdraw money from the banks and put it to work where it's working for us, we wouldn't have all these problems that we're having right now. We wouldn't have all these shenanigans of the banks running to the Fed and saying, please bail us out yet again. We need a few $1 trillion. Please print it quickly because we ran out of money again. We overpromised. We use fractional reserve. We have 10 times as many loans as assets. Celsius has less loans than assets at all times. If all of our depositors came and said, give me my money back, at the same time, we could service all of them on the same day, which is something that no bank in the world can say. So it's just a completely different system, right? And we withstood this. This was an earthquake, right? This was a huge test the last few days. DeFi collapsed. Maker had to basically shut down their system, right? Because they're basically liquidating everybody. BitMEX basically blew up, right? They liquidated all their customers. So you're seeing that the model that we created worked perfectly well. When people needed dollars, we had dollars for them. When people needed Bitcoin, we had Bitcoin for them. And we earn much more than we normally earn. We charge much more. So I'm very, very excited that this model works and it was tested under all environments. We had 0 defaults with institutions. All of our counterparties paid. They had their margin calls too, big institutions that did not give us enough in collateral. So as we collected on all of that, it's not just for the retail user. We do exactly the same thing to the institution. We charge them more, and because of that, we're paying more to the community, and that's how you're earning those high rates.
Yeah, and at least the way I see it is pretty cool because this is a solution that can work for everybody. I remember a few months back, Cameron Winklevoss tweeted that there's $17 trillion in negative interest bonds, and that's 17 trillion reasons for Bitcoin. And when you consider those negative interest bonds where people are basically paying money to keep their money there versus something like Celsius where you can earn up to 10% interest, it's a no-brainer, but it's just like it's early on, so people need to learn about it.
So up until now, only Japan and Europe had negative rates, right? And now the US is joining the party. Now the US is basically, the Fed just lowered rates to 0. The Fed just told banks, you don't have to have any reserve. Even the 10% you used to need, you don't need that. Just give out all the loans you want. We can print all the money we need. Don't worry about it. Just go lend whatever you want. Create numbers out of thin air, right? So do you want, and people are selling their gold and they're selling their Bitcoin and they're selling their Apple stock to move money into dollars because they feel that that's safer. That's not safe. The dollar is an exceptional form of payment, but it's a horrible store of value. The Fed just diluted you. They diluted every American. They just reached out to the future and borrowed from our children and grandchildren because they are the ones who are going to have to pay the debt back. So we all have to understand what's happening here. This is not just, we cannot just print deficit and think there's no consequences. Okay, our kids are going to have to pay these deficits, and they're going to pay it in the form of much lower lifestyle, right? They're going to be working for the Chinese and Japanese and other people who actually have controls on their system. So all I'm saying is that, again, Bitcoin is an uncorrelated asset. Gold is an uncorrelated asset. It's not behaving properly today because of everybody's scared, but we need to keep 10, 20% of our dollars in those assets. Otherwise, we all going to get diluted by this action by the Fed and the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, even if we're not seeing it now, like right now we're seeing the price of stocks and gold and Bitcoin decrease. Even if we're not seeing it now, the printing of that money actually makes the assets like Bitcoin, gold more valuable in the future just because it's competing with a lot more dollars.
That's right. Scarcity, we still have exactly the same number of Bitcoin, but the number of dollars just doubled, right? So people have to understand, well, now the Bitcoin is worth twice as much, not half as much, twice as much. So eventually all these things will level out because people will realize that prices are going to start going up. But for now, short term, we have this economic collapse. Hopefully we're going to have a recovery, but we're going to have a few months where nothing happens, right? And the GDP is going to be down 10%. And you're going to see, again, millions of people getting terminated or fired because their businesses just can't continue paying them without a restaurant or without a trucking company or without whatever, having any movement. And then we're going to see a recovery. But you know, don't trust the dollar to deliver any income for you. The income is going to be zero, if not negative, right? So that's what this is all about. Again, we are earning real yield. We've been doing it for several years. We plan to do it for a long time. And now we just need to show that we can scale the model. We have 80,000 users. We're going to get to 100 million. So we're just in the beginning of the road. We've just got out of the garage on a long road ahead, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just have an incoming call. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. I'll just wait for that to end. I'll just edit this out.
I don't know why it does it on my computer. I put the do not disturb on the thing, but it doesn't. Yeah. All right.
Good.
Yep.
All right. So we've talked about a lot of stuff. Anything else? What's coming up for Celsius Network? Anything else you wanted to talk about today?
So yeah, I want to mention that to explain to people. So the wallet that we have today has 25 assets in it, and you have to think of these assets as like island of risk. So the least risky island that we have are the stable coins. We have 11 stable coins, and I recommend for most users, if you want to bring your friend or your parents or a stranger into this world, into the crypto world, it's a stable coin that is pegged to the US dollar, that earns 9% interest, as you mentioned. That is a easy seller. That's a layup, you know? And after they're comfortable in there and they had few interest payments, then you say, hey, by the way, you should also have a little bit of Bitcoin. You should have some Ethereum and so on and so on. The second island we have are the staking coins. So these are coins that automatically create yield, like Dash and EOS and others, and they just generate yield, right? We don't even have to go and earn that yield. It's automatically built into the coin, and you just have to really learn about the projects and decide if you believe in these projects. coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. So if you're a pro, you know what you're doing, you can earn, you there? You
Yes,
can
still here.
earn, yeah, you can earn yield on those coins as well. Like you said, on Bitcoin right now, you can earn something like 7.5%. And you can either earn it in Bitcoin or you can earn it with the cell token that we have, and then you get bonuses and things like that, right? And we're now adding something new that never existed before. We're adding gold and gold coins. So you'll be able to earn gold on gold. That has never happened in the history of mankind. There was never a product in the history of man, because usually when you buy gold and you put it in a safe, they charge you storage fees, and they charge you insurance, and they charge you management fees, because you put it in a bank in a safe, right? You don't usually keep it in your home. So it's a negative yield. The gold itself never earns money. Here, we created a way to have gold earn more gold, and we pay about 3% of gold on your gold every year.
I have a couple friends who are going to be so excited about that. That's going to make their year.
Exactly. So just like we invented the whole idea that you can earn interest Bitcoin on Bitcoin, we just figured out how to do gold on gold. And that's something that people are very excited about. The gold market is $10 trillion. The Bitcoin market is $200 billion market. So another way of bringing people into crypto is convincing them to buy these gold tokens, which have real gold sitting behind it in the Swiss vault. And if they ever need that gold, they can show up, redeem their tokens, and get the physical gold.
That is so awesome.
So I'm really excited about that. I think we're going to bring a lot of new users who might say, I don't want to touch Bitcoin. I don't believe in Ethereum. Here are stable coins. Here's gold coins that are yielding. Fine, I'm in. How do I use this thing? So that's the latest and greatest.
Awesome. I mean, no joke. I have two friends. I'm going to tell one about this, and he's going to lose it.
Always innovating.
Yeah.
And in the last interview, we talked about taking loans to basically defer your taxes, right? We talked about how the rich people, especially like our president, right, never pays taxes because they push all their liabilities into the future. They borrow against their real estate. They borrow against their stocks. And you can do the same thing. You can push your liabilities, your tax liabilities, on the gains on your Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other asset into the future by just borrowing dollars from Celsius. The rates are so low that it's a crime not to do that, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Last question I actually had was, why is the cell token not available to be earned as interest in the US?
That's a great question. So we are compliant all over the world. So in each country, we have to be compliant with the local laws. And in the United States, it's just not clear, meaning the SEC has not yet issued guidance. We're waiting for them, but they've been sitting on their hands for 2 years or 3 years now. They have not issued guidance as to what is considered a security and what is considered a utility. So since we don't know what our token is, we decided to take the safe route and not offer cell token as interest income for Bitcoin. So it doesn't mean that you can't earn. You could still earn Bitcoin on Bitcoin. You can even earn cell token on cell token. Mm-hmm. Cell token itself yields 5%. But you cannot earn the other way. So you cannot earn cell token on stable coins or on Bitcoin or things like that. So our 40% of our users, which is almost like 40,000, are using just earning Bitcoin on their Bitcoin or Ethereum on their Ethereum. And we've been paying that. We paid more Bitcoin, more Ethereum than all the other guys put together. Put all of our competitors, including DeFi, together. We paid more than all of them put together. That's how much bigger Celsius is than all the other guys who talk a lot but don't deliver interest every Monday like we do.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. Well, Alex, I got to say, it's been awesome to have you on again. Thank you so much. A lot of great information. Like, I can't wait to tell my friend about the gold on gold. I can't wait to see him lose it.
Thanks for having us. And looking forward to doing another one and updating you on all the new things that we're doing in the future.
Great. And anybody who wants to can download the Celsius app, can go online and find you.
Yeah, go to our Telegram channel, 13,000 users. CelsiusNetwork.com. We're on Twitter at Celsius Network, and www.celsius.network, which is our website. But the best thing is what you said: download the app, register, put $1, and see what happens.
Right, and I'll put a referral code down in the comments where you get a little bit extra if you use that. So thanks for joining us. Great to see you again. Have a good one, and peace.